Gentlemen, please come to order. Welcome to night one of the October 2025 special town meeting. Everybody can find their seats. As you know, the lower part of the auditorium is reserved for town meeting members, and others can sit in the upper part of the auditorium. Please note your nearest emergency exits as you find your seat. Having been advised by the town clerk, Susan Galvin, that a majority of town meeting members are present, I hereby declare that a quorum is present for the transaction of business and the meeting is now open. The meeting will now come to order. I have been advised that pursuant to the law, the warrant was returned upon the town clerk on or before the 13th day of October by Constable William J. Neville. My name is Elizabeth Dillon and I am your town moderator. Welcome to the October special town meeting. Please note, as always, if there are questions that arise or issues that you would like addressed, do not hesitate to contact me before or after the meeting, during a break, or via my email address, and I will endeavor to timely answer your questions or refer you to the correct individual who can do so. Should you have any questions or concerns about the proceedings at town meetings specifically, I ask that you do not hesitate to let me know. As a reminder, interrupting, save for appropriate points of order and points of privilege, is forbidden, and I generally discourage both booing and clapping, except for recognition for the service of town meeting members and other elected officials and participants as appropriate. Clapping can be permitted for that. Please remember that a majority of the people in this room are volunteers. And as always, please show the Milton town meeting members, elected officials, town employees, and Milton residents every due courtesy. As a reminder, you are asked to refrain from wearing fragrances. Should you be wearing a fragrance, please sit away from the sections nearest to the lobby entrance. As always, I look forward to working cooperatively with you all. And now, in keeping with our tradition, we'll start our meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Will those that are able please rise, stand, and join with me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if you're able, please remain standing so that our singers from the Milton High School Chorus can lead us in the national anthem. Thank you very much to the Milton High School Chorus. That was beautiful. Now I'd like to take a moment of silence for firefighter Danny O. Thomas, who served for 28 years for the Milton Fire Department, who passed recently of occupational cancer and had his celebration of life this past Saturday here in this room at the Milton High School. If everybody can join me for a moment of silence for firefighter Thomas. Thank you. Thank you very much. And now, I'd like to acknowledge a new town meeting member. Precinct 8 had a caucus prior to town meeting to elect a new town meeting member. It is my pleasure to announce our new town meeting member from Precinct 8, Mr. Jackson Humphreys. Mr. Humphreys. Thank you, Jackson. Thank you, Mr. Humphreys. Mr. Humphreys was sworn in by the town clerk after the caucus and prior to the meeting. And now I'd like to briefly turn the meeting over to the chair of our select board, Mr. Ben Zoll, who will introduce our new town council. Mr. Zoll, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. So I have some thank yous also in addition to recognition, so I hope I can go through those real fast as well. First thing I want to do is, we've already done a moment of silence for firefighter Thomas. The select board has heard from the chief of the fire department, and we are looking forward to working with the fire department to honor Danny Thomas when the new East Milton Fire Station is complete. If you knew Danny, he was stationed at Engine 2 in East Milton. His service was right here, actually in this room on Saturday, and there was a great attendance. So it's nice to be here for a different reason today. I do want to thank MHTL and Peter Mello, our previous town council, for their service, as well as John Flynn and Kevin Freitag, who both worked for MHTL for a number of years for the town. We are grateful for their service and everything that they had done for the town. And we're very pleased to welcome KP Law, in particular Mr. Darren Klein, who's here with us, along with his colleague Lauren Goldberg, who is not. But we're excited to have Darren here. We're excited to get a new perspective on things. And I don't know if you'd like to say a few words to introduce yourself, Darren. Thank you.
Good evening through the moderator. As you just heard, my name is Darren Klein from KP Law, and on behalf of my law firm, KP Law, we're thrilled to be here and honored to be the new town council for Milton, and we are very much looking forward to working with the select board, with the town administrator, and with all the very hardworking town employees and officials that do so much for this town and all of you as elected town meeting members. So I won't take up any more of your time, but it's an honor and privilege to be here tonight, and I wish everyone a very productive special town meeting.
Thank you, Attorney Klein. Now I'd like to welcome our Congressman, Stephen Lynch, for a few words. Congressman Lynch, thank you.
Good evening. Great to be with you. Normally I'm down in D.C., but we've got a shutdown going on right now, as I'm sure you all know. My colleagues in government, good to see you as well. Representative Wells, good to see you, sir. I want to thank the moderator for her kindness in allowing me a couple of minutes. I know there are important matters on the warrant, so I will be brief. As you may know, this is the fourth week. We're in the fourth week of our government shutdown in Washington, D.C. And even though I've been through a number of these in the past, this one, I need to be honest, feels a lot different. Normally, we would fly in and my Republican colleagues and our Democrats would get together and we'd work late into the wee hours of the morning, would order in Chinese food, and we would argue for hours and hours, and we would eventually figure it out and open up the government. That's not happening right now. That's not happening. We are flying in, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Democrats, we're flying in every single week. I don't like to be political at town meeting, but we're flying in every week, but Speaker Johnson has not asked my Republican colleagues to fly in as well. So there's nobody to talk to. We stay there for a few days, and then we fly home again. That's been going on now for like I say, we're in our fourth week of that. All that said, I just want the people of Milton to know Social Security checks should still be going out regularly. However, if you have claims or you have a problem and you're trying to deal with the Social Security office, there's been a lot of furloughs, a lot of layoffs. There's been some dismissals as well. So if there's any delay on a Social Security matter, the family needs to call my office and we will work with Social Security to try to expedite that case. Same thing with passports. We have a lot of people. Milton has a high number of travelers. We have a steady stream of business for passports in my office. There have been layoffs and furloughs at the passport office as well, but we've got a great relationship with them, and we can work with them to expedite, but we need advanced knowledge. So if people are thinking of traveling and you need a passport replacement, or you lost your, you need to apply for one, you need to call us sooner rather than later so that we can get to work on that. Thirdly, veterans issues. Fortunately, we have a great VSO here in the town of Milton, Alex Ortiz, who does a great job on behalf of our veterans. We have 3 wonderful VA hospitals in our district, but since January, there have been 13,000 layoffs at the VA. That's docs, nurses, therapists, even the people who staff the Veterans Suicide Hotline have had layoffs. So there's been a backlog in cases going forward. We're seeing our veterans have to wait 2-3 months for things that usually took 1 or 2 weeks. So any family that's caring for a veteran, any veteran who's out there that needs services, we can work with Alex Ortiz, our office, and the VA to try to get you taken care of and expedite that cases. Last issue on this list is SNAP benefits. So the SNAP benefits, SNAP is just supplemental nutrition assistance programs, food stamps. Also could affect a Head Start program. Some of those kids are also available and eligible for SNAP. The administration has money at hand that they could use to extend SNAP benefits throughout the shutdown. They are choosing not to do so. So we are in a little war right now with the administration over their reluctance to use that money for the intended purpose. And that discussion goes on. The biggest threat to the people of Milton and the people of my district from the shutdown is actually in connection with Medicaid. Whether you get your health care at BI Deaconess or Milton Hospital or Mass General, South Shore Hospital, Good Sam, any of the hospitals in our district, or if you have a loved one at a nursing home in our district, or if you frequent one of our community health centers, 30 to 40% of that funding for that institution comes from Medicaid. And right now, the deal on the table in Congress calls for a cut to Medicaid of $1 trillion over the next 10 years. So partly because of the impact of the Stewart Healthcare debacle, that bankruptcy that took down a half dozen of our hospitals in this region, we have overcrowding at every single one of our hospitals. I've just done a tour of all our hospitals. And there's a practice going on right in our hospitals right now. Any hospital that you would go to, your family member would go to. Right now we have what they call boardings going on. There's a new, it used to be a violation, now it's a practice. So a boarding is when you arrive at a hospital and your doctor says you should be admitted and there's no bed for you. So they put you on a cot in a hallway outside the emergency room. And they even have a new position they've created called a boarding nurse. A boarding nurse, never used to have before. Now they're the nurses that take care of the people in the hallway, which is where you'll be sitting or laying if you need emergency service at any one of our hospitals. So when you look at the Medicaid cuts that are threatened that threaten all of our hospitals, we would be in a disastrous shape. We're in tough shape right now, but it would be an absolute disaster for your families if we allow this funding cut to go forward against Medicaid. It'll affect every one of your families. And so for that reason, I cannot support that proposal that's on the table right now in Washington, D.C. I represent your vote. I cast your vote. I don't cast my vote. I cast your vote in Congress. That's how representative government works. And I need to be honest with you and transparent. I am not going to support that because of the harm that it's going to cause to your families. That's where we're at right now. Now, I did hear today on the news that Speaker Johnson says he's coming forward. He's going to announce his own health care plan. I got to admit, I'm a little skeptical. But I'm willing to sit down with him, and that's what we need to do. Democrats and Republicans need to get to Washington, do the job that you took an oath to do, and solve this problem. We need to sit down like adults and hammer this out on behalf of the American people. Look, Milton is a shining example of what's best about America. You take care of your kids, you take care of your seniors, you take care of your veterans, and there's nothing better than that. And I'm very, very proud to represent you and your family every single day in Washington, D.C. in the United States Congress. God bless you for being here at town meeting and being involved. May God bless the wisdom of your deliberations tonight, and may God continue to bless these United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Congressman Lynch. Thank you. I have two quick updates. First, there is an upcoming special election on November 4th, 2025 for a position on the Select Board. Second, there's an East Milton Fire Station visioning session, on November 10th at 7 p.m. in the Milton Arts Center at 334 Edge Hill Road. So you can mark your calendar for those things. Okay, before proceeding with the business of the meeting, there are certain preliminary matters that must be taken up. First, permission has been requested for certain members and personnel of the school committee, planning board, board of health, and other boards, committees, and departments who are not town meeting members to sit on the floor with other members of their respective boards, committees, and departments, with the understanding, of course, that they will not vote. Hearing no objection from the body, such permission will be and hereby is afforded. Permission is hereby granted to Milton Access Television to televise these proceedings. Please note that there are 2 side aisle microphones, each with a few seats at the front row, reserved for those waiting to be recognized to speak, or otherwise with permission of the moderator. And in order to increase efficiency, should you wish to speak, please come down to the microphones as soon as you are aware of your desire to speak. If you are unable, for any reason, to proceed to the front of the room, please alert myself. And if you are unable to speak for any reason at either of the 2 side microphones specifically, permission may be given to speak at the podium, which is otherwise generally reserved for presentations. You can address any questions you have to myself, the moderator. A note on green sheets, there is one article for which the warrant committee has revised its recommendation following the printing of the warrant. The revised recommendations are reflected on green sheets, which are printed on green paper and placed in the front of the room and made available on the town's website. As a reminder, green sheets are only provided for the warrant committee's revised recommendations and for no other reason. There is a green sheet for Article 5 and no green sheet for any other article. Please note that, as set forth in Rule 7 of the warrant, the relevant Massachusetts general laws, the bylaws of the town of Milton is applicable, and town meeting time, 4th edition, shall be the official rules of this meeting. The rules of procedure of this meeting have been summarized in the annual town meeting warrant, copies of which were made available by mail to town meeting members at Town Hall, online, and in front of the room at the annual town meeting, and therefore will not be reviewed in detail today. As these are the rules summarized in the warrant and provided in advance to the town meeting members, barring any objection, these shall be the rules of this meeting. As a reminder, this meeting shall use the electronic voting system established by the prior town moderator and the town meeting, and accordingly, no voice shall be held except as otherwise indicated by the moderator. Except as indicated by the moderator, the vote shall be displayed as recorded by the electronic voting system. In the event that 7 members stand in their place, the moderator will display the results of the vote by the town meeting members' names for all electronic votes. Time will be given for members to stand, and should there be any issues or concerns with standing, please let me know. As a further reminder, as I mentioned, there are microphones made available to you on either sides of the room. Individuals who are not town meeting members wishing to speak are requested to kindly inform the moderator, and permission may be granted to registered voters in the town. Please note that At this time, and pursuant to Rule 14 of our warrant, speakers are strictly limited to 10 minutes without prior permission by the moderator for additional time, which is largely reserved for town employees, members of the boards and committees providing presentations. The moderator shall keep the time, and questions about the time may be directed to the moderator. As I previously stated, we have in place electronic voting. Mr. Mallett, the town's IT director, will operate the electronic voting system. At the conclusion of an article's discussion, rather than calling for your voice vote, I will call for an electronic vote. All those in favor of the motion shall press the yes button. All those opposed shall press the no button. Those who are abstaining may press nothing or press the abstain button. Please do not press any other buttons. You will have 45 seconds to vote. You may change your vote at any time during those 45 seconds. At the end of that time, I will announce that the vote has been closed and the results will be displayed. I will read the percent and the numerical vote so that the town clerk may record them for the record. As is customary, I will include only the yes and no votes for the vote total. I will let you know when a two-third vote is required. At this meeting, the only article which requires a two-third vote is the 9th and final article. We will now run a test vote for the electronic voting system. Are there any questions before we begin? Seeing none, we will vote. Night 1, test question. Did you buy discount candy the day after Halloween? Do you? Yes, A, no, B, C, abstain, or you can press nothing. %73% of people voted no, 19% yes. That's 146 no, 38 yes. And a quick point of clarification, I said 45 seconds. It'll actually be 60 seconds to allow everybody a chance to vote. Please look at your name as you scroll through. Make sure that it is as you indicated on your clicker. And we will go through. If anybody has any questions, please go to the front of the room on the left side and speak to Mr. Mallett. He'll be happy to help you. Thank you. I appreciate everyone's patience. Again, if anybody's having any trouble, please go see Mr. Mallett in the front left of the room. Perfect. With that, we will recognize Mr. Ben Zoll, Chair of the Select Board, for a brief remark. Mr. Zoll, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Don't have too much to say this evening, but I do want to call out some folks that have been instrumental to making this evening possible. First and foremost, our moderator, Liz Dillon, thank you very much for all of your work. The Warrant Committee and the Chair, Jay Fundling, thank you very much for all of the effort that you've put in tonight. I want to acknowledge the Town Clerk, Sue Galvin, and her fabulous staff. Also, Rob Mallet over there, making sure everyone can vote. Thank you to all of you for being here. And finally, thanks to Milton Public Schools for the use of this building. As I alluded to earlier, the public schools here really do go above and beyond for different activities and needs throughout the town, so we're very grateful for them. The final thing I'll add is this. We're all here tonight because we love this town. We're all here tonight because we want to make this town a better place. Some of us have different opinions about what that looks like and what that means, but let us not doubt the sincerity of everyone here tonight in their efforts to try to make Milton the place that they think would be the best place to have their children, their grandchildren, and future generations that we don't know grow up in. So I would echo the moderator's request that we show each other the respect and decorum that's required for a meeting like this. And I think if we do that and we use everyone's time judiciously, we may even be out of here in one evening. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair Zoll. And with that, we will begin with the presentation by the Chair of the Warrant Committee, Mr. Jay Fundling. Mr. Fundling, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. My name is Jay Fundling, Town Meeting Member Precinct 3 and Chair of the Warrant Committee. I don't have a presentation so much right now, but I do have some things to say. I would like to say you'll see me up here speaking several times tonight. When I'm up here speaking, I'm not speaking for myself. I'm speaking as much as I can on behalf of the Warrant Committee, who you see seated at the table to my right, your left. Some of you new members or not so new members may be wondering, what is the Warrant Committee? What do they do? The Warrant Committee is fundamentally an advisory body to town meeting. There are 281 elected town meeting members. It's not necessarily practical for all 281 residents to dive deeply into every article, so the Warrant Committee's role is to collect the relevant information, share it with you, and make our best recommendation. Our information to you is mostly contained in our comments printed in the warrant. For every article, you'll see comments in italics. That's us conveying information to you for how we made our decision and how you can make your decision. I will also be speaking briefly to each article unless there's another speaker speaking to it. I do want to respect your time. However, if my coming up here and speaking for a couple minutes can avoid a much longer Q&A session on the floor, or if it just makes you more informed and more confident about the question in front of you, then I hope it's worth it. I'll tell you a little bit about how we did our job in preparation for this town meeting. For each article in this warrant, the Warrant Committee assigned 2 members to become the experts on that article. So we could be sure that every single article on here had at least 2 members of the Warrant Committee who dug into it, investigated it closely. If I'm ever stumped on an article tonight, and I'm consulting with my colleagues, that's why. For some of you longtime warrant readers, you might notice something a little bit different about this warrant, that the recommendations from the Warrant Committee are not as long. Often in the past, you would have the article, and then the recommendation, if it was identical to the article, would be printed again. This time, it's much shorter. When the Warrant Committee's recommendation is identical to the article, it just says, recommended that the town vote to approve the article as printed in the warrant. It's short, it's to the point, hopefully it doesn't confuse anybody. Instead of having to read it twice, look for any differences, you just know, okay, the recommendation is the article as printed. When the Warrant Committee has a different recommendation, you'll see that in bold, and we'll point that out. That's most of what I had to say. Aside from that, I would just like to say that every single person in this room has other things we could be doing tonight. But I want to thank every person in this room for coming out and participating in our town democracy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fundling. I would like to also point out that for several of the articles, some version of those articles has been previously before town meeting. So to help guide the discussion, I asked town council to please provide some thoughts about the appropriate scope of the discussion. Attorney Klein, if you would. Attorney Klein, you are recognized. Thank you.
Thank you, Darren Klein, KP Law, through the moderator. I did very quickly I tried to go off the cuff earlier, but I did want to thank the Select Board for your confidence and your appointment as Town Council. So I did want to just say that real quickly. Regarding what the moderator had introduced, the moderator and I have discussed the scope of the warrant before you this evening. Obviously, the main purpose of tonight is to give all of you elected town meeting members the opportunity to discuss, debate, and vote on the articles that are before you. Although some history may be relevant in certain circumstances, the scope of the meeting is the four corners of the warrant that is before you tonight. And as far as restating discussions or history from previous town meetings, that is not before you tonight if it's not directly pertinent to the scope of tonight's warrant. So obviously we're going to do our best to stick to the four corners of the warrant, and as I said, there may be some issues where history or previous debate is directly relevant, but in other situations, in most cases, it's going to be outside the scope of what you're here for tonight. With that, I'll sit down. I know you have a lot of business before you tonight, and again, good luck to everyone tonight. Thank you.
Thank you again, Attorney Klein. And now, I would like to acknowledge Diane Agostino, the Chair of the Milton Commission on Disability, who was granted permission to provide a brief report to town meeting regarding her committee's work. Ms. Agostino, you are recognized.
Thank you very much, Moderator Dillon. Diane DiTullio Agostino, Precinct 9 Town Meeting Member and Chair of the Commission on Disability. This may be the first time the Commission on Disability has actually presented prior to any articles, and I hope that you'll take this information to heart. And on behalf of the Commission, we greatly appreciate any help you give to any residents of Milton or elsewhere, employees, residents, visitors. Milton, we can start with the Suffolk Resolves House. Milton residents, I'll let her get the presentation up. Milton residents have made many historical impacts and many positive impacts on the rights of citizens and on how our lives are lived. Suffolk Resolves House is on Canton Ave. It's where the Suffolk Resolves was signed in 1774. It's considered the forerunner to the Declaration of Independence. Who doesn't want to be independent? Who doesn't want to be respected? Who doesn't want to be included in everything that happens in Milton, if they so choose and when they're able to do so? The next picture is the infamous resident of Milton. He was born on Adam Street. Some of you may know, but some of you may not know. President George Herbert Walker Bush came to Milton in 2009, I think it was, because in 1924 he was born, and he gave us the legal rights, or gave disabled individuals the legal rights under the American with Disabilities Act. The American with Disabilities Act was signed into 1990 and amended in 2008. Everyone in this room is either over 50 or knows someone who is over 50. And we each have different situations. We're all sitting here right now. Some of you may be perfectly healthy with absolutely no concerns for cancer or anything like that. And as we just honored firefighter Darnio Thomas, he lived to save our lives, to fight for us. He passed far too soon of occupational cancer. And when you read in the warrant to please refrain from fragrances, We have residents, when this first started coming up, who have multiple sclerosis, they have asthma, they have migraines. These are very serious disabilities that impact them. And we can't thank someone like firefighter Danio enough. And in fact, there is a new earlier testing blood test for firefighter cancer, occupational cancer, that the commission will hopefully work to have Milton provide to all our firefighters because it detects it earlier. All of us these days have a smartphone. And yet today there was an emergency and the first responders did not know. So if anyone has an iPhone, if you can please go to the, let me find it, the app that has a white background and a heart on it. It looks like that. Every first responder, if you set it up correctly, can open up your phone to find out what medical needs you have. So if you have elderly parents who have an iPhone, you can set it up for the first responders to know who to call if your elderly parents, are unable to speaking for themselves. So you go to your contacts. Were you able to get the next picture? You go to your contacts, and at the top is your own personal contact. And then you go to your profile, you hit your picture, and that's where you can turn it on. So you don't have to, the first responders don't have to unlock the screen. They can simply see what your medical information is. And once they have that, it also, if you have an emergency or say you have a bleeding disorder, a blood disorder, and the Canton Special Blood Mobile is racing to Milton because you've been in an accident, they'll be able to look right at that to know better. So I really hope that you can fill in your medical ID, just put as much or as little as you want, and also share that information with others. Tonight's presentation was not going to have a happy ending. However, because of this emergency incident that happened in a neighboring town, we learned about, the next one, the Massachusetts State 911 free service. So you've heard me in the past talk about with the commission about Smart 911. The town was paying for that. They stopped paying for that. The police department got a new program. They were flagging things in their computer program. But after calling to get a copy of the police report, I noticed on the website for the other town that they had this free service. So I contacted the state. And sure enough, it's very simple for anyone to just go on the website, and the commission will be working with the Milton Police Department, the fire department, any ambulance that should come to Milton, so that they'll know if someone has filled in this 911, I think it's the next two, 911 disability indicator from a landline, a wireless, or a VoIP. It's your individual record. So the good news to all is we don't need to do more research. We don't need to spend any more money. It's something that Milton has available to do, and I've already submitted my own. So that was the good news. I don't know how I can explain any more than the following phrase. Disabilities do not discriminate. It's the one thing that we all should be supportive of family, friends, employees, visitors, and respect them. And we all recently had learned of Diane Keating's passing, and one of her favorite songs was You've Got a Friend in Me. So if you can hear, and someone next to you can't hear, I've asked the moderator, I said, so many times somebody will say, I can't hear what's being said. Speak up for that person, because maybe that person's too shy. If you can see what's up on the screen, and yet the person next to you is saying, what is it saying? The moderator has, said, please just speak up. And if you can speak, and the person next to you is mute, then please speak up. But I really, really appreciate if you can share this wealth of new information with, especially with the elderly in this town, And thank you so much, Moderator Dillon, for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Ms. Agostino. And with that, yes, thank you. And with that, we will move into the business of the meeting. We will start, we have 9 articles here today. We will start with Article 1. A note about Article 1, the Warrant Committee, in their recommendation, has proposed language that is similar, and I'll let Mr. Fundling explain, but it reads slightly differently than the article. The article itself reads as follows: to see if the town will vote to amend the appropriations voted at the 2025 annual town meeting for the 12-month period beginning July 1, 2025, by increasing the amount appropriated under Article 10 for the election and registration budget by $60,000 from $127,674 to $187,674 is set forth in the table in the October 2025 special town meeting warrant, which sum shall be appropriated from funds certified by the Department of Revenue as free cash and to act on anything relating thereto. First, we will hear from the Chair of the Select Board, Mr. Ben Zoll. Mr. Zoll, you are recognized.
Thank you, Moderator Dillon. Ben Zoll, Chair of Select Board, Town Meeting Member Precinct 5. We have, the Select Board has voted unanimously to agree with the Warrant Committee, and I don't believe that we have anything extra to add that hasn't already been written in your warrant. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair Zoll. Next, we will hear from the Chair of the Warrant Committee, Mr. Jay Fundling. Mr. Fundling, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Jay Fundling, Town Meeting Member Precinct 3 and Chair of the Warrant Committee. This article allocates $60,000 to pay for the election, which will be held 1 week and 1 day from now on the 4th of November. One thing to know about this article is that the election will be held next Tuesday on the 4th of November, and the town will have to pay for that election. This article is allocating money to pay for that election so that it's in the proper budget. If voting yes or no on this article will not prevent the election from happening, voting yes on this article means we have the proper money in the proper budget. If this article does not pass, we'll have to scramble and get money from a different budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fundling. We will now open Article 1 up for discussion. Does anybody wish to be heard on Article 1? I see no movement. We will now open Article 1 for a vote. As a reminder, the motion on Article 1 is the recommendation of the Warrant Committee. This is a majority vote. I'll read it again. The recommendation of the Warrant Committee is that the town vote to amend the appropriations voted by the annual town meeting for the 12-month period beginning July 1, 2025, under Article 10, as referenced in the table set forth in the October 2025 special town meeting warrant, and that to meet said appropriation, the sum of $60,000 be appropriated from funds certified by the Department of Revenue as free cash. And again, this is a majority vote. The article passes 99%, 204 to 1%, 1 vote for no. Okay. Moving on to Article 2, to see if the town will vote to accept Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 57, and to amend the general bylaws by inserting the following new chapter, number, denial, revocation, or suspension of local licenses and permits, as set forth in the October 2025 special town meeting warrant, and to authorize the town clerk to assign or amend chapter and section numbers and titles, and to act on anything relating thereto. First, we will hear from the Chair of the Select Board, Mr. Zoll. You are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Ben Zoll, Chair of Milton Select Board, Precinct Member, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 5. We have voted unanimously to support this. We concur with the Warrant Committee and their recommendations, and I have nothing further to add on this subject. Thank you.
And Mr. Fundling, on behalf of the Warrant Committee.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Jay Fundling, Town Meeting Member Precinct 3 and Chair of the Warrant Committee. Article 2 allows the town to deny some permits to people who are behind on their property taxes. A typical example might be if someone is behind on their property taxes and they apply for a building permit to add on to their house, that permit could be denied until they catch up on their taxes. The treasurer of the town has asked for an article like this as another tool to try to get people to pay their taxes. The whole town came together last year and voted to approve an override to increase taxes on ourselves to pay for the services that the town provides. As such, we should make sure, since we're so dependent on property taxes, we want to make sure that everyone is paying the appropriate amount of property taxes. This article does have avenues for appeals if someone is affected by it. Also, you might look at this and you might say it's a page and a half of legal language. Maybe you're looking at it and you're saying, why does it have words about open burning permits? Why does it have words about fishing and hunting licenses? Can we change those? I don't want to speak for town council, who may be called upon if one of you have a question like that. But in general, this is accepting a state law. When we accept a state law, in general, you've got to take the wording as the state law provides. If someone really wants to ask for a change, we can get town council's approval. But in general, the wording in front of us is the wording that the state approves and will give the town treasurer another tool to collect unpaid taxes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fundling. We will now open Article 2 for discussion. Does anyone wish to be heard on Article 2? Okay. Again, I see no one moving, so we will open up the vote. The motion on Article 2, which is a majority vote, is that the town vote to accept Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 57, and to amend the general bylaws by inserting the following new chapter, number, denial, revocation, or suspension of local licenses and permits as set forth in the October 2025 special town meeting warrant, and to authorize the town clerk to assign or amend chapter and section numbers and titles and to act on anything related thereto, and this is a majority vote. The article passes 98% to 2%, 200 yes, 5 no. Moving on to Article 3, to see if the town will vote to accept the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 60, Section 3D, to establish an, quote, aid to elderly and disabled taxation fund, end quote, and a, quote, taxation aid committee, end quote, to consist of the chair of the Board of Assessors, the town treasurer, and 3 residents to be appointed by the Select Board, and to act on anything related thereto. Mr. Zoll, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Ben Zoll, Chair of the Milton Select Board, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 5. We don't have much to add to the Warrant Committee's recommendation here. We've voted unanimously to approve this. As this is something that would be created after the 7-day period following town meeting, I would like to encourage you, if this is a subject that you're interested in, to serve on a committee to help aid and elderly and disabled, aid to elderly and disabled taxation fund. We would love to have you apply for this. We will be putting this on our next agenda item as a select board. And so if you'd like to put your application in, you can do so through the town website. So that's pretty much my pitch. And I do want to say, I had it on good authority from Mr. Fundling himself that he would have very thoughtful and detailed remarks about the articles, so I'm sparing you my own, admittedly less thoughtful comments. So thank you, Madam Moderator.
Thank you. Mr. Fundling, you are now recognized.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Jay Fundling, Town Meeting Member Precinct 3, Chair of the Warrant Committee. I feel obligated to give thoughtful and detailed thoughts. My first thought is if at any time you're looking up here and you're confused about if you're seeing the Chair of the Warrant Committee or the Chair of the Select Board, just remember I am the middle-aged bald man with glasses and a beard. That's how you tell us apart.
Don't be too funny, Jay. Keep going.
So anyway, Article 3 establishes a fund to benefit elderly and disabled residents with their taxes. It is an entirely voluntary fund. This fund will only consist of money that people choose to contribute to it. This article also establishes the committee to oversee it. This was one reason this was brought up before town. As I said about the last article, we had a large override last year. As such, articles that town meeting passed last year, as well as now, are looking to see any way we can help our needy residents who have a hard time paying their property taxes. We know it's tough. We want to see any way we can help people pay their property taxes. Now, as I said, this establishes a fund and the committee to oversee it. Now, you might be looking at this article and thinking it's very brief. It's one sentence. You might have lots of questions like, for example, who is elderly? Who is disabled? Who determines that? Who gets the money? Is it given out to all elderly and disabled people? Is it based on need? You might have lots of questions. Certainly the Warrant Committee had lots of questions. And the answer to every one of those questions was, these answers will be determined by the committee that's set up. So I apologize I don't have details for you now, but this article establishes the fund and establishes the committee that will answer all the questions that are going through your head right now, like how do we define disabled? How do we define elderly? Who decides who gets the money? So I apologize that you don't have those answers, but that's exactly what the committee will decide once they're up and running. So that's all. And just like the last one, I don't think there's not really wiggle room when adopting a state law for adjusting the wording, so we left the article as it is, and we encourage a yes vote on this article. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fundling. We will now open the article for discussion. Does anybody else wish to discuss the article? Sir, you are recognized.
Leroy Walker, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 10. Jay, this might fall in the category of what the committee would determine, but the question is, would the committee determine who could contribute, who might not be able to contribute? Could out-of-state individuals contribute? Could out-of-non-residents contribute? Is there any limit on the amount that could be contributed? Could nonprofits contribute, and so on and so on? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Mr. Fundling?
Thank you, Jay Fundling, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 3, Chair of the Warrant Committee. I don't want to put Town Council on the spot. I don't know if you have other thoughts on this. I will say that, our first answer is we think that'll depend on the committee that's set up. We did ask specifically, is it possible for the town budget to contribute to this? And we're not saying that's going to happen, but just testing the outer limits of what could happen. We asked if that was possible. We were told that was possible. I will, as I said, we had 2 experts on this article. I will see if I'm getting flagged down by my experts. I am not. So nothing further on that unless Town Council has something to say.
Town Council? Thank you, Mr. Fundling. Attorney Klein?
Darren Klein, Town Council, through the moderator. As was said by the chair of the Warrant Committee, it does allow the committee to set up rules for donations and even using funds from the town budget potentially. But what the law allows at a bare minimum is there would be a checkoff on individuals' taxes where they could pledge an amount not less than a dollar to donate and to put into this fund. That's sort of the bare minimum of what the fund would allow. And then, as has already been said, it would be up to the committee to sort of expand from there.
Thank you, Mr. Klein. Does anybody else have any discussion on this article? Seeing none, we will open the article up for a vote. As a reminder, the motion on the floor is as follows: that the town vote to accept the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 60, Section 3D, to establish an aid to elderly and disabled taxation fund and a taxation aid committee to consist of the chair of the Board of Assessors, town treasurer, and 3 residents to be appointed by the Select Board and to act on anything relating thereto, and this is also a majority vote. That's 96% yes, 197 votes yes, 4 votes no. The article passes. Now we will move to Article 4. Article 4 reads, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Select Board to adopt community-wide greenhouse gas emissions reductions goals in alignment with the limits set by the Massachusetts law, and to measure progress towards these goals by updating the town's greenhouse gas emissions inventory no less than once every 5 years, and authorize the Select Board to direct relevant boards, committees, and departments to proactively pursue fiscally responsible actions, investments, and policies to achieve the goals mentioned above and increase the town's resilience to the detrimental effects of climate change and to act on anything related thereto. This article was submitted by the Climate Action Planning Committee. Accordingly, we will hear from the chair of the CAPC, Mr. Alex Hasha. Mr. Hasha is coming down, and when he comes down, he will be recognized.
Good evening, Alex Hasha. I'm the chair of the Climate Action Planning Committee and also a board member of Sustainable Milton and resident of Precinct 9. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight in support of the article. And the Warrant Committee's, if you could move on to slide 2, the Warrant Committee's report provides a straightforward and focused case for approving this article, and I want to take just a few moments to give you a bigger picture on how it fits into the broader effort to respond to climate change in Milton, in Massachusetts, and beyond. The 2021 Climate Roadmap Act in Massachusetts sets statewide greenhouse gas emissions limits based on the international goals of the 2015 Paris Agreement, targeting a 50% reduction from 1990 levels by 2030, a 75% reduction by 2040, and net zero carbon emissions by 2050. Next slide, please. On the Climate Action Planning Committee, our mission is to advise and engage the Milton community on how to reduce emissions and mitigate the damaging impacts of climate change. And we were charged by the Select Board in 2023 to develop a climate action plan that lays out a roadmap for reducing community-wide emissions in alignment with these targets of the Roadmap Act. And this year, we have completed a draft plan, and we're shifting our focus to engaging residents for their feedback and identifying steps to get the ball rolling. In particular, we need to gather and organize resources that will allow the town to begin implementing the plan, and this article will help us do that. Next slide, please. But first, what does reducing greenhouse gas emissions mean in practical terms? So these emission reduction goals are community-wide, meaning that they apply not just to municipal facilities, but also to our homes, businesses, and even the natural landscapes that surround us. So making progress toward the goals is about making clean energy technologies practical, accessible, and affordable for everyone in town, so that we can live our daily lives without producing the levels of climate warming pollution that we do today. Next slide, please. Now, we believe the town has a major role to play, both in leading by example deploying clean energy solutions at municipal facilities, and also by providing support and removing obstacles for residents who are pursuing these changes in their own homes. The Climate Roadmap Law's emission reduction goals are codified in state law. They require state agencies and utilities to make serious efforts to meet them and publicly report on progress. It does not directly obligate local communities, but it has triggered the development of voluntary programs that support cities and towns that partner with the state to reduce emissions. And in particular, the Climate Leader Communities program provides funding, tools, and resources to help towns reduce emissions by deploying clean energy technologies and improving energy efficiency. So to make any progress on these goals, Milton needs to start by gathering resources and building the capacity to act. Next slide, please. Qualifying for Climate Leader Communities would be a huge step forward on both fronts. Once a town meets the eligibility requirements, it gains access to 2 new grant programs. First is decarbonization technical support grants, which offer up to $150,000 to hire vendors for recommendations and engineering design planning for clean energy projects at municipal facilities. Decarbonization accelerator grants offer up to $1 million for projects that significantly reduce municipal emissions. And critically, a community can receive both grants once per program cycle, the first of which is open for 3 years. So the cumulative financial support could be as much as $10 million between now and 2015. Next slide, please. The accelerator grants can be used for municipal clean energy projects that don't use fossil fuels. So things like on-site solar, renewable heat, like heat pumps, energy storage, and other building energy efficiency activities. And it's a new program. The first 19 communities to be certified as Climate Leader communities were only certified in May, so there have been no example grants that I can cite under the program yet. But as an example of how we might apply this here in Milton, the HVAC systems on all these new schools are about 20 years old. They're approaching end of life and will need to be replaced one way or the other in the next 5 to 10 years. These grants could be applied to projects like that to defray their inevitable cost. Next slide, please. Now, this table shows the 6 requirements for becoming a Climate Leader community. Milton has already completed 3 of them, the green checks on the left. And for many communities, adopting the specialized building code, which we did at last year's town meeting, is considered the biggest hurdle. Passing this article would satisfy a 4th. It would serve as the town's commitment to work towards eliminating on-site fossil fuel use in municipal facilities and operations. But it would also empower and encourage town leaders to work on the 2 remaining requirements. Next slide, please. So, in a nutshell, passing the article advances Milton towards Climate Leader certification and eligibility for millions in state grants for necessary energy projects, but it's also non-binding, so the town will retain full discretion on future investments, and as such, it has minimal direct costs. Now, I've heard some people say, well, this doesn't do anything, so what's the point? And from others that I wish it had more teeth. And I can understand both reactions, and here's why I think it matters. For the leaders, staff, and volunteers doing this work, it's really important to know that the majority of Milton residents want to make a serious effort to meet these goals and move in this direction. A clear expression of approval gives direction and legitimacy to the work ahead. And at the same time, we deliberately avoided locking the town into rigid directives because the path forward involves significant technical, financial, and practical uncertainties, and we'll need problem-solving, creativity, and flexibility to navigate them. Next slide, please. So to close, on the Climate Action Planning Committee, we're hoping that some of that creativity and energy will come from the broader community and from leaders like you. So after tonight, I hope you'll find the draft climate action plan on the town website or using the QR code up above my head. We'd love your ideas, feedback, and your partnership in bringing it to life. So at the end of the day, this article is about getting the ball rolling, giving Milton a clear direction and the ability to act. I hope you'll vote yes and help move climate action forward here in town. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hasha. Next, we will hear from the chair of the Warrant Committee, Mr. Fundling. You are recognized.
Thank you. Jay Funling, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 3, Chair of the Warrant Committee. I don't have much to add besides what Dr. Hasha just presented. I do want to say that the Warrant Committee was comfortable with this article because it does not lock the town into any specific actions. It gives the town general guidance that where there's prudent, economical ways to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, we wanted the representative body of the town, which is town meeting, to give the town administration that guidance, but not to lock ourselves into anything uneconomical or onerous. So the Warrant Committee recommends a yes vote on this.
Thank you, Mr. Funling. Mr. Zoll, would you like to speak on behalf of the Select Board with respect to this article?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Ben Zoll, Chair, Milton Select Board, and Town Meeting Member, Precinct 5. The Select Board has voted unanimously to recommend this article, and for all the reasons that Dr. Hasha and Mr. Fundling just laid out. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zoll. We will now open Article 4 for discussion. If anybody wishes to be heard on Article 4, please come down. Yes, sir, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Jeff Stone, Precinct 1. I rise in strong support of this article, but I have a question for the presenter. I'd like to know, as in many articles that come up, how we compare with other communities with regard to becoming a climate leader community. Do we know if other towns have taken this step or have refused to take this step? Could we have a little bit of context on that from the presenter?
Thank you, Mr. Stone. Mr. Hasha, if you could speak to that. That's okay.
I'm afraid I don't have a list of which towns are currently considering this. I know through a network of folks who have roles like mine that many towns are. There are 19 towns in the initial group that achieved certification in May of this year.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any comments, questions regarding this article? Okay, great. Seeing none, we'll open the article up for a vote. Again, this is a majority, and the motion on Article 4 is that the town vote to authorize the Select Board to adopt community-wide greenhouse gas emission reductions goals in alignment with the limits set by Massachusetts law, and to measure progress toward these goals by updating the town's greenhouse gas emissions inventory no less than once every 5 years, and authorize the Select Board to direct relevant boards, committees, and departments to proactively pursue fiscally responsible actions, investments, and policies to achieve the goals mentioned above and increase the town's resilience to the detrimental effects of climate change. The article passes 92% to 7%, 187 yes, 15 no. Okay, I don't love clapping, but moving on to Article 5, which reads, to hear and act upon the report of the Master Plan Implementation Committee and to see if the town will vote to establish a standing master plan committee, a successor to the implementation committee with a term and charge as set forth in the October 2025 special town meeting warrant, with reporting requirements as set forth in that warrant, membership as set forth in that warrant, appointments made as set forth in that warrant, and to see if the town will vote to transfer the remaining balance of the appropriation for the Master Plan Implementation Committee approved in Article 11 of the 2025 annual town meeting warrant to the Master Plan Committee and to act on anything relating thereto. A note on Article 5, the Warrant Committee revised their recommendation to town meeting since the warrant was printed. The revised recommendation is as set forth on the green sheet, which has been made available to you at the front of the room. and which was posted on the town's website. The recommendation, which Mr. Funding can explain, is the same as the previous recommendation as printed in the warrant, with the exception of item 3 under the charge of the Master Plan Committee. And the revised recommendation of the Warrant Committee will be the motion before town meeting. This article was submitted by the Master Plan Implementation Committee. Accordingly, we will hear from the chair of the MPIC, or the MPIC, Ms. Cheryl Tagayas. Ms. Tagayas, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. My name is Cheryl Tagayas, and I am a town meeting member from Precinct 9, a member of the Planning Board, and Chair of the Master Plan Implementation Committee. First, I wish to thank my fellow committee members who I'd like to name: Elaine Benson, Dick Burke, Regina Campbell-Malone, Megan Haggerty, and Tabor Keeley. This committee has been in existence for 11 years, so I would also like to thank former committee members, town staff, other boards and committees, and residents for their input and efforts at implementation of our master plan. Next, please. This plan was adopted in 2015 after 2 years of work, a lot of public outreach, and a lot of contributions from many members of our community. The master plan is in 3 volumes. The implementation plan is in volume 1, and it is the core of the plan. It is organized around 3 general themes, then into 7 goals and objectives, and then further into 120 very detailed implementation strategies. Additionally, there are top 20 recommendations which feed into those. The plan also suggests who should lead the particular action item and potential partners. The goals and strategies in the plan are interconnected, and progress in one area may impact the potential for progress in another. There are multiple responsible parties assigned to the strategies, included boards, committees, and departments, and it requires collaboration across disciplines and jurisdictions. The committee facilitated and led several important initiatives that are recommended in the plan for further study. And you can see some of those listed in a timeline on the screen in front of you. It's important, though, to note that the committee was not responsible for the contents of the plan, as this committee was formed after its adoption, and we are not actually responsible for its implementation. We are actually responsible for monitoring and documenting the implementation and assisting with implementation where warranted. So those initiatives that are listed here that we assisted with began in Milton Village, and you can see that led to work that's ongoing thanks to the Select Board. And most recently, some analysis of a potential for an intra-town shuttle. So they cover quite a diverse range of topics. After 10 years of work and over a year of discussing our recommendations, the committee believes that there has been a great deal of progress with contributions from many. But we also believe that many issues and strategies remain relevant and further action is needed. So the 7 goals, I'm going to go through some of the successes and some of the challenges. The CPA was passed a few years ago, and nearly $4 million in CPA funds have been allocated to date. This is under the Preserve Milton's Physical Character goal. So with those $4 million in funds, $1.6 million has been used for open space and recreation projects. Currently, an open space and recreation plan update is in progress, and a recreational master plan as well. 75 acres were moved to conservation, and then on the historic preservation side, the demolition delay bylaw was extended to 24 months, and a local historic district is being proposed for the annual town meeting in the next spring. Some of the challenges, though, under preserving Milton's character involve what does that actually mean for everyone. So for some, it is understood as opposition to change, or as opposition to multifamily or affordable housing, or as not welcoming to new residents. Another challenge is that Milton has minimal municipal land that's available for new or expanded uses. And there's a concern that restrictive historic preservation requirements could stifle redevelopment in Milton Village. So this gets to my point of successes on one hand could make for limits on progress and other goals. Next, please. So under the promote health and wellness goal, we have success thanks to wonderful efforts of our health department and a partnership for a healthy Milton in preparing the community health assessment and in their work now on a community health improvement plan. Also, their work with the opioid settlement funds that are being distributed. Also important to health and wellness was identified as connectivity and options for non-vehicle connection that include the work of a bicycle and pedestrian master plan, and as I already mentioned, the recreational master plan that's in process. There's extensive expanded programming at the Council on Aging, and they are at capacity currently with what they can offer. While we had adopted the bicycle and pedestrian master plan, there's been little progress in its implementation. Air traffic volumes and impacts remain unchanged, and land space challenges for expanding recreational and social programming remain as well. Under the goal of improving housing and neighborhoods, mixed-use overlay zoning was passed for Milton Village and East Milton Square. Zoning and CPA funds for more senior housing at Winter Valley were passed. The Affordable Housing Trust is being funded. A memory care facility was approved. New homes are built at Wolcott Woods that include off-site affordable units. And new ADA and MBTA multi-family housing is passed. However, we still have challenges. Housing affordability has declined rapidly since 2015, and the median single-family home is over $1 million now. Our reliance on Chapter 40B projects to provide affordable housing has resulted in large-scale projects that are not popular in their neighborhoods. And limited production of affordable and rental and diverse housing types has left gaps for young families, seniors, and local workers. On the goal of promoting economic development, an economic development plan is in process. Mixed-use overlay, as I mentioned. There's a redevelopment of a historic building in Milton Village, one of the first in many years, and a new mixed-use development is under construction in East Milton Square. Challenges remain. We have just over 1% of our land zoned for commercial use, and just 3% of the property tax revenue is from commercial uses, a reduction from 3.8% in 2015. We've heard that we have a reputation for being unfriendly to business and new development, and there's been stiff opposition to proposed commercial projects and zoning. As I mentioned, we have limited land area for new growth, and we all know we have traffic impacts throughout town. Next. So success, or rather, the goal of improving transportation and circulation, we have some success as well. The Traffic Mitigation Committee, which completed its work 5 years ago and issued a very detailed report with recommendations. The town adopted a complete street program, which would allow for an integrated transportation network that is safe and accessible for pedestrians, bicyclists, motorists, and transit users of all ages and abilities. There's ongoing work with the Mass DOT projects for Randolph Ave, and I also, again, and this one is the bicycle and pedestrian master plan. Challenges remain. We have roadways experience high volumes of cut-through traffic, as we all know. There's been little to no implementation of the Traffic Mitigation Committee's recommendations or the Complete Streets Policy and the Bicycle and Pedestrian Master Plan. State and federal support is needed, as is funding. Next, please. The goal for providing high-quality public facilities, services, and infrastructure, we have some successes here with our excellent public schools and the work of our school committee and school building committee, with our new fire stations and our fire station building committee, our bond rating, our enterprise funds, and our consolidated facilities department. Challenges remain. We have far more capital improvement requests than available funding. We have some departments whose funding remains flat while demand for their programming has increased significantly. I think many would agree that there's many roads that could use some additional pavement management and sidewalk improvements, but funding is limited for those. And we still have a lack of a dedicated space for teens.
Ms. Tagayas, just as an FYI, you've been speaking for a little over 10 minutes. I know I granted you additional time if needed, if you can keep moving
If I
along
may,
quickly.
but I'll speed it up. Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Thank you.
And the last goal, to strengthen our capacity to plan. We have excellent committees who've composed of volunteers who, across many different subjects, who have issued reports with actionable recommendations. We have many resident-led initiatives, and you can see a few here. Some of the challenges are the broader participation in town government. We have residents of color who do not feel comfortable in town board and committee spaces. Communication between town government and residents could be improved. Awareness of the master plan and other reports and plans and ownership of their implementation could be improved, and collaboration amongst boards, committees, and departments could be improved. So there are a couple of key recommendations about things that we felt were not included in the master plan or not included in a detailed enough way. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is one. The Equity and Justice for All Committee report of 2022 informed our recommendations for master plan updates, which you can see above. The primary would be to adopt a townwide DEI policy and incorporate responsibility and accountability. Next. Similarly, the committee does not believe the plan adequately addresses climate change and sustainability issues. Input from Sustainable Milton and the work of the Climate Action Planning Committee informed our recommendations for master plan updates. You can see that again here. Next. And then I would like to highlight a few important topics. First, economic development. To deliver high-level services and with a reliance on residential property taxes, the town requires Proposition 2.5 overrides on a regular basis, as our warrant committee can speak to. The committee believes that the economic development plan that is underway should align revenue needs with land use regulations, transportation options, climate initiatives, and traffic congestion issues. Next, please. Next, housing and neighborhoods. Housing supply and affordability are deeply connected to environmental sustainability, transportation access, economic opportunity, and public health. Key recommendations you can see on the slide. Effective solutions will require integrated cross-sector collaboration. Next. Conservation land and recreation space are highly valued by residents. Municipal land is limited. The committee recommends that a comprehensive land use strategy be developed that balances conservation and recreation space with other municipal needs, and that specific plans be developed in the context of that strategy. There are many more examples of successes, challenges, and recommendations in the committee's written final report. I'm not as advanced technology-wise, so we don't have a QR code, but we have the website here where you can find that final report. In conclusion, a master plan is not meant to be a static document, but rather a dynamic, aspirational tool that reflects our town's evolving needs. Its effectiveness is determined by how well it is integrated into zoning bylaws, capital improvement plans, and other related plans. Implementation requires sustained and collaborative effort from elected officials, appointed committees, town employees, and residents. Finally, the committee recommends the establishment of a master plan committee as detailed in the context of Article 5. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tagayas. And now we will hear from the Warrant Committee. Mr. Fundling, you are recognized, sir.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Jay Fundling, Town Meeting Member Precinct 3 and Chair of the Warrant Committee. The Warrant Committee recommends supports of this article, as is amended by the green sheet that you received when you walked in the door. Just want to give a little history of how we got here. The Master Plan Implementation Committee's term is expiring this month. And so how did we get here? In 2014, Town Meeting established a Master Plan Implementation Committee at the request of the Select Board and the Planning Board. And I looked at that warrant just today, and I saw the Warrant Committee comment. The Warrant Committee specifically said in 2014, we want a committee to implement this master plan so that it does not sit on the shelf and collect dust. At the time, it was given a 10-year term. Now, a year and a half ago, at the annual town meeting in 2014, the term was extended from 10 years. It would have expired in October 2024. The term was extended from 10 years to 11 years. So at that annual town meeting a year and a half ago, the clock was ticking. At that point, we knew that the term of this committee would expire in 1.5 years. The deadline was coming. What would we do next? And so the proposal that you have in front of you is Article 5 is the answer to that question. What do we do next when this timeline expires, which was set up a year and a half ago? This replaces the Master Plan Implementation Committee, which has a limited term, as I said, 10 or 11 years, with a replacement committee with an unlimited term. It's similar to the makeup of the current committee. It'll have 9 members instead of 7, and it'll have requirements to report regularly to town meeting and others. I do want to address the green sheet that you got in. You might wonder, why did we have a green sheet adding just 6 words? And I'll tell you, this amendment was made by the Warrant Committee at a meeting Friday at noon, just 3 days ago. This amendment was made in response to a proposed amendment that the Planning Board Chair brought up at the Planning Board meeting the previous night. I do want to apologize if I got anything wrong. Obviously, if there's any misunderstanding, it's all on me, not on the Planning Board Chair. But I heard the Planning Board Chair say that an amendment such as this would be helpful in guiding the new committee, and so the Warrant Committee met the next day and added those words to our recommendation. So the Warrant Committee supports the establishment of this new committee and encourages a yes vote on this article.
Thank you, Mr. Fundling. And Mr. Zoll, would you like to speak on behalf of the Select Board with respect to this article?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Ben Zoll, Chair of the Milton Select Board and Town Meeting Member Precinct 5. We voted earlier tonight to unanimously support the green sheet amendment to this article. I think you've heard a lot about this, the important work of this group, and we believe that we should follow their advice in the creation of this master plan committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zoll. We will now open Article 5 up for discussion. Yes. Ms. Hall, you are recognized.
Good evening. Meredith Hall, Chairman of the Milton Planning Board. We have been meeting on this just for the last 2 weeks. And there seems to, well, first of all, I just want to say thank you to Cheryl and to the Master Plan Implementation Committee, first and foremost, for all of their work and for the many years of commitment to implementing and documenting where we are at the master plan. I also want to begin with introducing and welcoming our new Director of Planning and Community Development, Elizabeth Manning, who is with us this evening. So that's... first and foremost, very important to acknowledge both of these people here, and thank you again. But in the discussion around this article, there's been a lot of confusion by the Milton Planning Board. First of all, the Planning Board was not aware of this article until it was going to the warrant, going to print in the warrant. There was also confusion noted in the meeting from the Warrant Committee on Friday that the Warrant Committee was also under the impression that the Planning Board was aware of this article and made their recommendation under the assumption that the Planning Board was involved with this process. The Planning Board has concerns about elements of this. While we are grateful for this report, all the recommendations, but there are elements of this article and the formation of an entirely new committee, and most particularly that this would be a committee in perpetuity. And what would that mean and the ramifications in going forward? The Planning Board would like to ask that we consider such action, that such action would be consistent with the Mass General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 81D, which determines how master plans are created, how the updates to the master plan, and how the extension of an implementation committee is determined. In order to have time to work with our new town council, our new town planner, the Master Plan Implementation Committee, the Planning Board wishes to make the following amendment. And this was language provided and confirmed that it's legally and within scope of this article. The Planning Board wishes to move to amend the recommendation of the Warrant Committee on Article 5 to extend the term of the current Master Plan Implementation Committee through May of 2026, rather than create a new standing Master Plan Committee. Again, this would allow time. It would not, we are committed to furthering the work on the Master Plan. We would just like to have the opportunity to have time to make sure that the article that's coming before town meeting is consistent with with the general bylaws, and that we have an opportunity for collaboration on the language that would be in this article. So that is the motion.
Thank you,
Ms.
Ms.
Moderator.
Hall.
Yes.
I have very few copies. Concerns have been raised in the past about inability for people to see the actual projected screen. So if anybody has any difficulty, we did not print them out for everybody because it's a waste of paper and ink. However, I have some copies which I'll make available in the front of the room. Does anybody else wish to, oh, excuse me. We will now entertain Ms. Hall and the Planning Board's motion to amend. May I please hear from the MPIC, Ms. Tagayas, and I'll make these available in the front of the room. I'm sorry, yes. You're correct. Thank you. Thank you. Do I hear a second? Thank you. Okay, Ms. Tagayas.
Thank you. The Planning Board has had discussion of this article for its past two meetings. The article came together in August, in early August, when we became aware that we actually needed an article to deliver our report to this town meeting. And we had been talking about our recommendations. And so we consulted with the town administrator about our recommendation to have a successor committee and whether that could be incorporated into the article, which would allow for the report to be delivered. The timing of that was just 1 week between when an article would need to be submitted to the select board. And so the committee held two meetings in early August to accomplish that. The planning board didn't have meetings until September 11, taking a little break in August, so there was a gap. And so the planning board's awareness of it came in September. Then I will say, we did schedule an MPIC, or a Master Plan Implementation Committee 2, in the last couple of weeks. I raised the concerns of the planning board members with the committee, and as recent as Friday at 1 o'clock, the committee still wanted to move forward with the article with the recommendation, the change that was recommended by the warrant committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tagayas. Mr. Funling?
Thank you, Jay Funling, Chair of the Warrant Committee, Town Meeting Member Precinct 3. The Warrant Committee has not yet voted on this amendment, if that's what you're asking. I think we were hoping to hear the town meeting discuss it.
Thank you, Mr. Funling. Mr. Zoll, would the Select Board like to speak? Oh, wait a minute. Yes, Mr. Funling, you're recognized again.
Yes, Jay Funling, Town Meeting Member Precinct 3, Chair of the Warrant Committee. I'm a little unclear as to what the amendment actually is, and I don't want to put our clerk on the spot, but I think we want to see the wording of the article as amended up on the screen, and I think we're struggling to know what that wording is.
Thank you. Okay. Let us take a quick 5-minute break. We will be back at 9:20. Quick. Okay. We are back. I didn't do that loudly the first time. We are back, and we will hear from Mr. Zoll on behalf of the Select Board. Mr. Zoll.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. I know we're hard at work here to get the language up on the screen. Ben Zoll, Chair of Select Board, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 5. The Select Board has recommended a no vote on this amendment. Our recommendation is based in our opinion that the Master Plan Implementation Committee has existed for a significant amount of time. This discussion has been going on over the past 18 months about both moving back the deadline and then the approaching deadline. And they themselves have asked for this change. This change does not, other than existing funds that have already been committed to the Master Planning Implementation Committee, doesn't commit any new funds. And so we see no reason not to take the recommendation of the committee itself in disbanding it and creating this new one in their stead. Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Thank you, Mr. Zoll. Again, I ask that you refrain from clapping. Now, there's been a couple of questions that people asked me in those short 5 minutes about the procedure moving forward. So what we're going to do now is we're going to hear from people on the motion to amend. So if you want to speak to the motion to amend, I see some people are in the front. We'll do that first. Then, if the motion to amend passes, we vote on the article as amended. If the motion to amend does not pass, we then vote on the warrant committee's recommendation as written on your green sheet. Now we will hear, yes, sir, yes, sir.
Question whether the amendment is within scope of the article and ask for a ruling on it.
Thank you. Mr. Chimman, can you just say what precinct you're from, sir? Thank you, no problem. So Mr. Chimman has asked for a ruling on the scope of the article. I'm sorry, the amendment, thank you. May the town council provide some thoughts on that, and then I will make the requested ruling.
Darren Klein, Town Council, through the moderator. The moderator and I did discuss this, and it is within the scope of the main motion of the warrant committee, because the article is seeking to create a new permanent standing committee, which is obviously, that's sort of the outside scope of the article. And this motion to amend would be extending the term for a temporary term of the temporary current MPIC committee. So it would be within the scope of the larger article.
Thank you, Attorney Klein. I agree with our town council that this is within scope. And we will now hear from individuals on the motion to amend. I see some people over here, some people over here. I will go back and forth. We'll start with you, ma'am. Go ahead.
Christine Hodlin, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 2. And I stand against this amendment. I feel that the Planning Board has known what was happening here. The town meeting was here, scheduled. The MPIC committee itself knew when it was going to be expiring. I don't recall ever seeing an agenda item on any of the Planning Board meetings, not only just recently, but for the past 4 years, that says, can I have an update from the MPIC committee? But now we want to extend it for a year, and I'm not sure if that's going to give you more information on what they've done, or do you think that there's more work to do? So I'm kind of curious as to why another year is going to help anybody. The MPIC committee themselves, besides Cheryl, is made up of people who have been on this committee, most of them for 11 years, and helped develop this plan. And they unanimously support the article as it stands before this amendment was put forth. I believe that those people are the ones that are the most knowledgeable on what's been done and what needs to be done and would like to move on. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hodland. We will now move to the other side of the room. Ma'am, you're recognized.
Thank you. I'm Regina Campbell Malone. I'm a town meeting member for Precinct 1, and I'm also one of the members of the MPIC. I just am curious if the master plan is this living and breathing document, and it's one that the planning board is responsible for putting forth. Where is the proactive planning to make sure that the board that is, the committee that is implementing it is consistent and continues to do its work? I don't think it was a huge surprise that our committee was sunsetting, and I don't think it's too much to ask for a committee that's in charge of planning to know well enough the work before it to be able to predict and to try to accomplish the goal of making sure that folks that are working on their behalf have what they need to continue doing the work, right? And so in the last few months, we put together this plan to allow a standing committee to continue to do work on behalf of the planning board and to provide simply recommendations on either continuing updates on the master plan or recommending that a new plan be established. It does not provide the Master Plan Implementation Committee with teeth or any power to do anything that the Planning Board does not want to accomplish. So my hope is that rather than putting a ticking clock over the top of our work and not allowing us to continue that work in a way that honors the current master plan and helps us proactively plan for the next master plan, I ask that we reject this amendment and put forth the amendment as put forth by the Warrant Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And we're moving over to this. Yes. Ms. Hall, did you have something to add?
I think I could just offer some helpful information just to the last two speakers. Hello, it's Meredith Hall, Chairman of the Planning Board. So there was a reason when the Master Plan Implementation Committee was initially established. It was a 10-year term. That is quite common in communities when they're creating a master plan, that there is a period of the implementation. Some towns may have 3 years, some may have 5 years. We had a 10-year plan. The reason why you have a certain finite period is because often the master plan needs to be evaluated. The report we just are getting this past 2 weeks ago, we received a draft of the report. There's a period of time where you step back, you assess where you are in the planning of the town. We all agree that there's things that we still would like to put forth. The question is, at what point do you need to establish a new master plan committee? In many towns, it's recommended by the state that a new master plan is created every 10 years. So that was why the 10-year plan, the 10-year implementation period was created with a finite period. Not that it's a living document. Most towns do not have a master plan which continues into perpetuity, because there needs to be a period of assessment. So this was intended to sunset so it could be evaluated. The Planning Board has not had a chance to evaluate it. We believe that there is good work. We believe that we can come up with something that, and I think many of us feel that there was a tremendous amount of work that went into the master plan in 2014. There was an incredible expense. It was $175,000. So I think the general feeling of the Planning Board is we do not need to start with a brand new, fresh master plan at this point, but at some point we may. And so having a standing committee that's in perpetuity really is in conflict with that ability to be able to assess after a period of time what that is. So we have not had a chance to discuss it as the Planning Board. MBTA has taken up a great deal of our meeting time, as well as the ADUs and other projects that we're working on. So this would be a period of assessment, discussion, to determine what type of committee that we would want and allow for public input on that as well, because I think it's not only up to us as a planning board, but to do outreach and put it and make it a public conversation, and make this a collaborative effort between the Master Plan Implementation Committee, the Select Board, and the Planning Board. So having collaboration, I think, is incredibly important before we put a committee together, which is a standing committee in perpetuity. So thank you. I hope that helps.
Thank you, Ms. Hall. And now we'll move over here. Oh, okay. Oh, because I'll allow it because you asked the question that then Ms. Hall was answering. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just curious,
Ms.
before this
Campbell-Mullen.
current master plan that was created in 2014, 2015, when was the last time that the planning board put forth a master plan?
Okay. Ms. Hall, if you can speak to that.
I was not on the master plan committee, but I was very involved with the public outreach and feedback. But I don't have the exact date, which prior to 2014. I don't know the exact date, so.
Thank you. All right, moving over here. Ma'am, you're recognized.
Karen Friedman Hanna, Precinct 2. So I rise to oppose the amendment. And I agree with the previous speaker about the amount of time that you had to be able to assess this, but also that, well, first of all, I want to thank the Master Plan Committee, because I think when you look back at what they've accomplished, and I was at those initial meetings and part of creating the plan, talking it through, having all the different meetings, it has been an incredibly successful committee with continuity of people on it, input from the town in so many different ways. It has its pulse in every one of these successes. Granted, there are still challenges, which we know there will always be challenges, but the successes, to me, outweigh the challenges dramatically. The committee has been incredibly successful. The other aspect to this is that the chair of that committee is also on the planning board and has communication with the planning board as needed. So as a new committee is being developed, I'm sure with everything that Ms. Tagayas and everybody else that's been on this committee, that several of whom I know personally, would be very much involved with providing input for the new committee, if not being on it as well. I don't know who wants to still be on another aspect of the committee. But I think that there could be tremendous continuity of ideas, of input, of what might still be important as the town investigates with the town's people to get an idea of what next steps people are looking for. So I don't see how disbanding this committee in its form at the request of this committee, they know what they've accomplished, they know what they have done, where they are now, and moving forward to a new aspect, I think we should give the respect to them that they deserve from the unbelievable work that they've done for 11 years now, and move into the next phase. I strongly support the original warrant article and not the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Friedman Hanna. Now we'll move over to this side of the room. Ma'am, did you wish to talk? Yes, I'm pointing to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Kelly, Precinct 9. I rise to ask a couple of questions. In the original article back in 2014, I think the recommendation for this implementation committee was a membership of 5 that would be jointly recommended by the Board of Selectmen, or the Select Board, pardon me, I think it was the Board of Selectmen back then, and the Planning Board. And I think what's being proposed today doesn't sound like that. It's creating committee, and granted, let me back up. I highly, highly commend the work that's gone in for all of these years. and commend all of you for the efforts and the improvements to the town that you have helped with. But I don't know why we're changing our approach if it's worked so well previously. And in that, planning in the town comes under the guise of the planning board. I would hope, as a sign to the whole town, that we work collectively together, that both the planning board and the board of selectmen and the implementation committee could perhaps meet jointly and talk about how to move forward. I think a lot has gone well. Let's learn from that. Let's act collectively and not against each other, and create a process that will help continue with the improvements that have been gained thus far. So I support what is being proposed by the planning board and this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And now we'll come over here. Yes, sir, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Sean Fahey, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 9, and member of the Planning Board. I need a few minutes on this. I want to make sure that the body understands that this amendment made by the Chair of the Planning Board is an endorsement of MPIC. It's an endorsement. The Chair wants MPIC to continue. The Chair and the Planning Board, me as a member, recognizes the importance of MPIC and its future contribution to the town of Milton. We want MPIC to continue. I'm going to back up a little bit. On October 9th, the warrant was in my mailbox, which means it was probably in your mailbox too. On October 9th, when I received the warrant and I read it, that was the first time that I, as a planning board member, I do think that's important, I'm a planning board member, it was the first time I became aware that an article has been written and submitted to create not an extension of MPIC, but a new committee. On October 9th, which happened to be a planning board meeting night, it was the first time the planning board had a conversation about this article. Keep in mind, at that point, the article was already written and the warrant was published. It was not in September, as said by a previous speaker. The first time the planning board had a discussion about this was after it was written and published in the warrant. The planning board is the body that MPIC or the proposed committee would make recommendations to. It makes good sense to me that there would have been a collaborative process to discuss creation of this committee that's proposed in Article 5. Back when this started, it was the Select Board and the Planning Board that proposed creating MPIC. So in my mind, good process and good governance means that those parties that initially thought MPIC was necessary for the town, they collaborate with MPIC to outline the new charge of MPIC for the future. That only makes good sense. We were not involved in that. Liz Manning, our Director of Planning and Community Development, was not involved in that. If we're going to create a committee, which I am a proponent for, this committee should exist in Milton. We need it. It should be done in a collaborative way. The Planning Board, MPIC should sit down and we should discuss how this committee can be successful. Some of the comments I've heard feels like the Planning Board is being blamed for not being aware that MPIC was sunsetting. MPIC is sunsetting. MPIC knows that. MPIC could have said a while ago, we need more time, or we have an idea. That hasn't happened. As outlined, reporting was required twice annually to the select board and to the planning board, and once to town meeting. So the math is simple. If it's existed for 11 years, there should be 22 reports. And it says very clearly what the reports are supposed to have. In the planning board meeting on the 9th, I asked for record of the reports. My request was really simple. If we create a committee and we establish a reporting requirement, isn't it reasonable to think that those reports should exist? And if we're going to create another committee, don't we want that committee to be successful? Well, if we want success for any committee we have in town, we should do it collaboratively. It should not be done in isolation. This was rushed. This was clearly rushed. Had it not been rushed, I believe we could have and should have been part of the process, but we weren't. Liz Manning was not part of the process. Imagine that you're the new director of planning and community development. You come to town and you're not even included in this discussion about creating a planning committee? That doesn't seem fair to me, to a person who just arrived in town. I'm not speaking for Liz. She can speak for herself. To me, it makes very good sense to continue MPIC, extend it for another year, and give the parties that should be responsible, the MPIC committee and the planning board, the select board, if they prefer to be a part of it, Liz Manning, as our director of community and planning community development, we should all participate in creating the charge of this committee. And there are a lot of matters that should be discussed. Do we really want a committee in perpetuity? I don't know, but we should talk about that. I don't think creating committees in perpetuity are a good idea unless there's consensus that that's the right thing to do. However we got here, it's not the way we should get anywhere in town meeting. This is not something that should happen in town meeting. We should not have an article before town meeting that asks for you to either say yes or no and not have had a good process for how it got here. I'm not a government person. I'm a private sector guy. This would never fly in the private sector, and it should never fly in Milton, our town government. Let's get together. Let's collaborate on this. Let's create something that can be highly successful. MPIC is necessary. We need it. Let's do it the right way. I urge you to support this amendment. Continue MPIC for another year while we figure out together, collaboratively, how to do this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fahey. Sir, if you would like to speak on the motion to amend, you're recognized.
Aqua Ebong, Precinct 1. Squeeze this. Okay. Going to do some training here. Good. I think that works. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on this. My last speaker was very clear on his position. There are things like this is rushed. How do you rush something that has a beginning and an end? The planning committee leader mentioned that this was set for 10 years. Everybody knew it was sunset. It was extended. How do you force someone who is volunteering their hours for another year? Is that fair to them? Those who are running MPIC say they're done. They've served their time. They've given us what we asked for. We want to force them for another year? Are we paying them? Does that make sense? Would you do it? What's wrong in having them reach out to the other, or the other reach out to them? Everybody knew this was for 10 years. Everybody knew the plan. Why is this being said as if it's something that was hidden? I think it doesn't make, to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Maybe I can't reason at that higher level, but if you know when the show will end, you want to extend the show and those who are acting are not being paid, they've given you the end report, it makes no sense to me. Do we really expect this MPIC would be productive when they say they want to end their work? We force them for another year? Would you do it? Does it make sense? Let's think as grown adults. If we've all, MPIC has volunteered for more than 10 years, which they signed up for, and they want to end it, let's allow them end it. I argue that nothing productive would come out of the next 1 year if we extend it. Think about it. If we knew this was this important, if the select board wanted to reach out to them, they knew there was MPIC. If the other committee wanted to, they could go talk to them. But if the guys serving, not being paid a dime, want to end their work, they've presented their best work, I think it's the right thing to let them end it. Bring someone or another team who wants to serve. I therefore rise against forcing people into doing, I really don't like it. If they don't want to do the work, let it stop. Let another group who wants to do it start it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Over here, sir, you're recognized.
Good evening. My name is Matt Morong. I'm a town meeting member from Precinct 2, and I rise to oppose this amendment. The planning board offers no rationale for the substance of their ask besides needing more time. And from this planning board, we've heard this a lot in the past. This committee was formed 10 years ago, and since the formation, there have been numerous events that have changed how the town sees itself and how it should plan. This committee should be forward-looking and brace itself for a new round of master planning, as is its charge. Included in this history, must I remind you, are some of the more contentious items that we as a body have had to deal with. The town passed a historic multifamily zoning overlay to bring it into compliance with state law. The town is now required to allow ADUs by right. The COVID pandemic altered patterns of work and commuting, with impacts that continue to this day. The closure of local hospitals in Boston, Quincy, and Norwood has broadened the area of service for Milton Hospital. The town has been forced to pass a historic override in order to maintain level services, and future budgets will exert continued pressure on a predominantly residential tax base. Widespread use of app-based driving directions has created a traffic mess in this town. These are all issues worthy of study in the context of our entire town, and the formation of a committee to address this holds enormous importance. This is an issue of importance to the town that extends beyond the planning board, and this new article acknowledges this fact. It looks into the future, and I encourage you to vote no to this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morong. Are there any other people who wish to speak to the motion to amend? Mr. Fahey, did you want to speak again?
I didn't, but I'm going to.
Okay.
Sean Fahey, Precinct 9, also.
I'm going to warn you, though, you have about 3 minutes left, but go ahead.
Thank you.
No
It
problem.
won't take me that long.
Okay.
Sean Fahey, Precinct 9, town meeting member and member of the planning board. What the planning board was aware of, that this was sunsetting, right? We should all be really clear on this. MPIC was given another year. What was expected of MPIC at the conclusion of the 11th year was a report. That's what the planning board should expect. The speakers that have identified the planning board as being at fault for not recognizing that MPIC might not be complete, that cannot be the planning board's fault. If MPIC had more work to do, MPIC had a responsibility to inform us. MPIC has a member on the planning board. That member could have been told to come to the planning board and make us aware of whatever MPIC's thoughts were. We weren't made aware. To blame the planning board for not recognizing and not going to MPIC to find out they didn't have enough time is absolutely unfair to your planning board, regardless of who the members are. That doesn't make sense. Thank you, Ms. Moderator.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. Agostino, point of order. I'm sorry, you want to make a motion to refer back what? Hold on, please. Thank you. Having spoken with town council and confirming my suspicions are true, a motion to refer back is a higher level motion than a motion to amend, and we have to, according to town meeting time volume 4, hear a motion to refer back before we can continue on the motion to amend. And the reason why is because if the motion to refer back is seconded and then voted upon successfully, it makes the entire motion would be referred back, the entire article would be referred back, and there is really no sense in amending it before the thing is referred back. So, do I hear a second on Ms. Agostino's motion to refer the matter back to, you said to whom, Ms. Agostino, are you wanting to refer it back? To whom did you want to refer it back, ma'am?
Who does she want to refer back to?
So because, Ms. Agostino, because the MPIC would not exist if you were to refer it back, as you mentioned, it would have to be to the planning board. So we will hear that first. Do I have a second on the motion to refer back to the planning board? I hear that it's seconded. Would anybody like to discuss the motion to refer back to the planning board? First, we have to hear from MPIC, if they would like to speak on it, then the warrant committee, then the select board. Ms. Tagayas, would you like to speak on the motion to refer back? We will then, if it is successful, the whole thing will be referred back to the planning board. If it is not successful, we will go back to the motion to amend. Ms. Tagayas.
I can speak for myself since the committee is not convened here and not able to have a discussion. But I would say is, as one of the speakers said, the committee believes that it has fulfilled its charge. Our charge was to issue a final report at the end of the term of this committee and to make recommendations for next steps. We've made that in this report, which I mentioned you can find on the town website, and I covered some of those recommendations here tonight, and we made it in this article. We've had a couple of discussions about this, and we in those discussions, without this particular motion, we discussed that we feel as if, as I said, that we've completed our work, we've made our recommendation, and we would like town meeting to make a decision on our recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Tagayas. Yes,
May I
ma'am.
add one more thing?
Yes.
While Mass General Law does put the development of a master plan as a responsibility of the planning board, I did serve on the master plan committee in 2013 and 14, and I can answer the question about when it was updated before that, and it was in the 1970s. And when the planning board and select board in 2014 submitted an article to town meeting to establish the implementation committee, it was specifically brought here, brought to this body to make a decision because of the importance of the recommendations. The recommendations and the strategies within the plan fall to many more than just the planning board. They fall to the select board, they fall to departments, and they fall to other boards and committees. And so I would say that the committee, based on our conversations, would stand firm that we would like the body to vote on Article 5.
Thank you, Ms. Tagayas. Mr. Funling, would you like to speak on behalf of the Warrant Committee with respect to the motion to refer back?
Jay Fundling, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 3, Chair of the Warrant Committee. The Warrant Committee has not voted. We're waiting to hear if there's more discussion from Town Meeting members on the motion to refer back.
Thank you. Mr. Zoll?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. The Select Board, Ben Zoll, Chair of the Select Board, and Town Meeting Member Precinct 5. Select Board has voted unanimously against this amendment. And I would add that the purpose of referring back and essentially the referring back and the amendment are the same thing, which is why I just tripped over myself. We've voted unanimously against sending back. I think that my friend Member Akwa Ekbong has kind of, I think, already said it very well. We've had people volunteer for a decade or more on this committee. They feel like they've done their job. Our job now is to figure out what the next phase of this looks like, not to kick the can down the road. Thank you, Madam Moderator.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak to the motion to refer back? Ma'am, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Deborah Felton, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 2. I just have a question. This article was submitted by the Master Plan Implementation Committee, so doesn't it get referred back to whoever submitted it? Why is it going back to the Planning Board?
Thank you for that question. Town Council, can you speak to that?
Darren Klein, Town Council, through the moderator. A motion to refer does not have to be to the committee who submitted the article to the Select Board to be placed on the warrant. In this case especially, the MPIC would not exist if this motion passed. It expires this month, so it couldn't be referred back to a committee that no longer exists.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak to the motion to refer back only? No, I see nobody else. Okay, so as I mentioned before, we're going to vote on the motion to refer back. If it gets referred back, yes, I'm sorry, Mr. Fundling.
Jay Fundling, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 3, and Chair of the Warrant Committee. The Warrant Committee recommends a no vote on the motion to refer.
Thank you. As I was saying, if the motion to refer back is successful, it gets referred back. That's then done. If the motion to refer back is not successful, then we go back to the motion to amend, okay? Yes, hold on one second. Okay, we will now open the vote for the motion to refer back to the Planning Board. The motion to refer back fails 75% to 25, 150 no, 47 yes. We will go back to the motion to amend. Did anybody else who hasn't had a chance to speak yet on the motion to amend wish to speak on the motion to amend? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Christine Turnier, I'm a town meeting member for Precinct 4 and 4A. Someone earlier had mentioned something about, in the private sector, we are obviously in the public sector, but in the private sector, there's just different sorts of expectations. And as someone who does also work in the private sector, if I were to ask my manager for an extension on a pretty well-established deadline, they would probably want to know why and what I plan to do with that extension. So I have a question for the planning board. If we were to pass this extension, what exactly would the planning board do with that additional time? And what assurances could you give the town that you would be able to complete those things in this allotted time so that we would not, in May of 2026, find ourselves in a position where we were again asking for another extension, especially sensitive to the fact that these are individuals who are volunteering their time to serve our town, and we want to use their time judiciously.
Thank you. Ms. Hall, if you can speak to that question.
Yes, thank you. I think that's a great question. And we did consider whether to make that extension for a full year, but because we recognized that we wanted to take action, meet monthly on this, and be able to actually have a collaborative discussion on really, I think the biggest question is to determine, should it be a committee, and granted a new committee that continues. These are the master plan implementation terms are one-year terms. So anyone who does not want to continue, they can end in October, and then new applications can be made for anyone who wants to join that committee. So it's a one term, so no one's forcing anyone to stay at any particular length of time. But the goal would be to evaluate whether it makes sense to have a committee, a new standing committee, serve in perpetuity, or whether we are going to continue the master plan implementation committee as it has been working. It's been, a lot of the successes have been work that the planning board has done. We have been checking off many different goals, but it would be to evaluate whether this really should be a committee in perpetuity, and we've just received the final report last week from the master plan, evaluate whether a new master plan would need to be made. But I think at this point, we feel that moving forward with a master plan implementation committee or a new committee, but the question would be, is it in perpetuity? And those are the questions that we have not had a chance to evaluate, but that we would plan, and that's why not going until next October, but actually having something for Springtown meeting, we would be able to have a recommendation on that. And it may be, which I highly doubt, that we need a whole new master plan, but it gives us a chance to have that conversation and a chance to have the conversation with members of the current master plan implementation committee to look at that, and with the select board as well, so who established that. So hopefully that helps.
Thank you, Ms. Hall.
Yeah, sorry.
Ms. Turnier.
Thank you. Christine Turnier, town meeting member, precinct 44A. Okay, I have a follow-up question now. So my understanding is that part of the concern is about creating a committee in perpetuity. What are our regulations about disbanding committees? I will admit that is a hole in my knowledge.
I will ask the town administrator or town council to speak to that.
Darren Klein, through the moderator. If it is a committee created by town meeting, then town meeting could take a vote at a future town meeting to disband that committee.
Thank you. Okay. Does anybody else wish to speak to the motion to amend? You have is it a point of order? Okay, go ahead, ma'am. She asked who is responsible for what's printed on the green sheet. That would be, I will not answer. I will call upon Nick Milano, the town administrator, please. Yes, Mr. Milano.
Nicholas Milano, town administrator, thank you. The green sheet was produced by our office in consultation with the town moderator and warrant committee.
Thank you. Okay, I see nobody else wishing to speak on the motion to amend. We will open it for a vote. Yes. I'm sorry, Mr. Fundling.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. The Warrant Committee has taken a vote, and we recommend a no vote on this amendment. The Warrant Committee supports the article as printed in the warrant for several reasons. One is that we support the charge of the new committee. The new article calls for the new committee to suggest modifications to the master plan and comment on the scope and the focus. We think that's desirable. We oppose the amendment because that would put this committee in limbo. This committee has just released their large report. I admit I haven't read it, but it's a large report. This is a significant milestone for this committee. They just finished it. If they get a 6-month extension, I think they're unlikely to achieve anything in the next 6 months. We don't want to delay. We want to keep the master plan in use. To quote my colleagues of the Warrant Committee from the year 2014, I just read the warrant and it said, we don't want the master plan to suffer from slow death on a dusty shelf, which is more poetic than what I said a few minutes ago. So the Warrant Committee sees the new committee as the best option. I also would like to say there's been some discussion tonight about this article and how we got here and who talked to who or who didn't talk to who. I'd like to share some thoughts I had. This was about 3 or 4 weeks ago. The Warrant Committee was discussing one of the other articles in the warrant before you tonight. It was one of the other articles that had a bit of a rocky road getting here. And before we started that discussion as a Warrant Committee, I advised the committee that we may wish this article had come to us in a different way. We may wish others had taken different steps in its crafting, but that's not the question before this body. The question before this body tonight on Article 5 is Article 5, as printed in the warrant and the green sheet, better for the town, or is putting it off or is extending the current committee 6 months better for the town? No matter how else it got here, the Warrant Committee thinks that the article as printed in the green sheet is better for the town, so we urge a no vote on the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fundling. We will now open the vote on the motion to amend. Yes. Can the clerk please can we pause the timer, and can the clerk please put back up the motion? The motion to amend reads, to hear and act upon the report of the Master Plan Implementation Committee and to extend the term of the current Master Plan Implementation Committee through May 2026. With that being said, we will now open the motion for a vote. Yes. No. We voted on the motion to refer back to the planning board. We are now voting on the motion to amend, and then, depending on what happens now, we will either vote on the motion as amended or the Warrant Committee's recommendation, but thank you. What's on the screen is the motion to amend. Okay. We are now Article 5, the motion to amend is to hear and act upon the report of the Master Plan Implementation Committee and to extend the term of the current Master Plan Implementation Committee through May 2026. Period. Okay. With that being said, we will now open the motion to amend for a vote. This is a majority. The motion to amend fails, 147 to 49. And now we will move to the main motion, which is as printed on the green sheet. Would anybody like to speak to, yes, waiting very patiently on the recommendation of the warrant committee, which is the motion on the floor, which is as set forth on the green sheet in the front of the room. Ma'am, you are recognized.
Lori Stillman, Precinct 2. First of all, there's been some question about whether the Master Planning Committee should exist into perpetuity. And I would like to say that the answer should be a resounding yes. In my 30 years, nearly 30 years on being town meeting member, I would say that there has been a consistent rallying cry for planning, the need for planning in this town, whether it's planning for finances or for technology or capital improvements or wellness. We need to be planning. That happens in the public sector and it happens in the private sector, and we should not be giving up on the notion of continual planning and continual improvement in this town. So that's one thing that I would like to say. I also want to say that I did read the entire report, and it was beautiful. It covered so many topics, and I really want to encourage everyone to read it because I learned so much by doing so. I want to congratulate the Planning Committee for their work. I would like to make a small friendly amendment, however. One of the major goals was to improve or address health and wellness in the community, which I thought was a great goal as someone who works in public health. But in listing the skills of the people who might serve on the Master Planning Committee in the future, there was no listing of anybody in the field of public health in the list. So I would like to make sure that we include public health as one of the areas of expertise in the 4th paragraph.
Thank you. Would the chair of the MPIC like to talk about that motion to amend made by Ms. Stillman, specifically with respect to adding person with public health as a requirement under that section of the article?
Yes, I realize I haven't been saying my name every time. Cheryl Tagayas, Chair of the Master Plan Implementation Committee and a town meeting member of Precinct 9. As I said before, I can't speak on behalf of the committee since the committee has not had the opportunity to speak to this, but given my experience in our conversations, and you saw in our recommendations, and if you see in the body of the text, this makes a lot of sense. So I would support it myself. Thank you.
Thank you. And we will hear from the Select Board. Mr. Zoll.
Ben Zoll, Chair of Milton Select Board, Precinct 5 Town Meeting Member. The Select Board unanimously supports this addendum of a public health profession. Thank you.
Mr. Fundling. Yes. Well, yes, they're moving to amend, and the warrant committee hasn't had a chance to speak on it yet. I would second that motion then. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Fundling. You're recognized.
Thank you. Jay Fundling, Town Meeting Member Precinct 3, Chair of the Warrant Committee. The Warrant Committee supports this amendment.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak on the amendment to include public health? Yes, sir, you are recognized. Mr. Ebong.
Aqua Ibong. I think that's a great idea, but then we'll have 10 people on the committee, which would set us up for not being able to make decisions. Are we going to drop one person? Or should we add one more person to make it an odd number?
Thank you, Mr. Fundling.
Jay Fundling, Town Meeting Member Precinct 3, Chair of the Warrant Committee. As I read it, this is a list of saying, if you're going to be a member of this committee, you should have skills in one of these things. You should be an architect, or a civil engineer, or a parks expert, or, what do we just say, public health. It doesn't mean there has to be one for each. So it's just saying we can have public health people on this, but not that we have to have one of exactly each.
Thank you, Mr. Fundling. Would anybody else like to speak on this motion to amend to include a public health professional? Yes, sir.
Jeff Stone, Precinct 1. I agree with Mr. Fundling's comment that there shouldn't be an exact single person of each skill set. However, I would suggest inserting in the paragraph on the green sheet, the big paragraph, the words public health as a place marker to show that we value public health. I don't think it's in that long list. So perhaps after public policy, comma, public health, and or diversity, equity, and inclusion. Yeah. Oh, is it in there? Da. Okay, thank you very much. That does it.
Thank you. Anybody else on this motion to amend? Okay, I see none. We will now open the vote for the motion to amend. Again, this is a majority, just to include those words, and public health professional. Did you open the time, Mr. Mallett? Yes, I'm sorry, I can't see it on my thing. Thank you. Okay, that motion passes 184 yes, 9 no. Now, would anybody else like to be heard? We're going back. Does anybody want to be heard on the motion, which is now before us, which would be the green sheet, but adding that language and public health, so you can see it up here on the screen? Yes, ma'am. You want the exact breakdown vote from whom? I don't understand your question, ma'am. Can you travel to the microphone, ma'am? Okay. Okay, if somebody can bring her the microphone, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Air quality is diminishing for some reason. We've always, if a town meeting member asked for a vote from a particular committee, specific, we've gotten it, so we're taking a vote. We hear from the select board, we hear from the warrant committee. I'm asking that the planning board provide us with how they will actually be voting. That's very simple.
Thank you. Now, normally that would be the case, but here, the Master Plan Implementation Committee is the submitting body. So normally we would call upon the body that submitted it, which would be the Master Plan Implementation Committee, the Warrant Committee, and then the Select Board because it's their warrant. So,
Madam Moderator?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you please check with town council if it's legally allowable for a town meeting member to have the planning board's opinion?
Allow town council to speak on that question.
Darren Klein, through the moderator. I think it's allowable to ask the planning board if they have a recommendation, but since this is not a zoning article or it's also not, it was not submitted by the planning board, I don't think they are legally required to give a recommendation, but it's certainly allowable to ask them.
Does the planning board wish to speak on the motion, which is the green sheet and the additional amendment of end public health?
I'm coming.
Does the planning board wish to speak on that, Ms. Hall? No. Okay, thank you. Ma'am, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Erin Bradley, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 4, 4A. It's my understanding that when you are asked about how a committee feels about something, it's the unanimity, which I did not say properly, of the committee. It's not the breakdown of the committee and how each individual member votes. And so I would hope that we will be able to keep that in our town meeting process with the majority rule of how things are. So while I appreciate my fellow town meeting member asking this question, I would hope that it will be able to be something that we will be able to be the unanimous decision of that committee. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Ms. Hall has noted that the planning board has declined to speak on that. Does anybody else wish to be heard on this motion as set forth on your screen, which is the green sheet plus that additional language of and public health? Yes, ma'am.
Chris Hodlin, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 2. I would just like to say that I guess with the vote on this article, if we vote for it, we will be voting to end MPIC as we know. For those of you who are here in 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, however long it took to develop this long-range plan, Cheryl was a big part of it back then. And she has led this committee for 11 years, and many of the members on it, Tabor Healy, Dick Burke, and now Regina Malley, have joined the committee. And I think we were allowed to have a raising applause for thanking people. And I think we should thank Cheryl and the committee.
I said brief. Thank you. Okay. Would anybody else like to speak? I see none. Does anybody have any questions about what we're voting on? I hear none. Okay. We are now voting on Article 5. The motion is, as set forth on the green sheet, as amended, to include the words, and public health. Okay. The article passes 84% yes, 27 people voted no, 164 yes. Okay. It is 10:30. I'd like to keep going. You might like to keep going. Do people wish to keep going? Let's have a voice vote. Okay, I hear a motion to adjourn and a second. Okay, I'm going to do an electronic vote. Motion to adjourn. We will put that up on the screen in a second. Okay, if you'd like to go home, yes. If you'd like to stay, no. Otherwise, you can abstain. We're adjourned. I will see you all tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. right back in the high school auditorium. Thank you, everyone, so much.